All right, guys, welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope everyone is having a great Thursday. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had a late day and late night yesterday recording music in the studio. Um, I've been working on a new album, and they're non-political. Not they're not the political tunes that I've been recording. And so we've been working pretty hard on those, and got in there, and we started recording, doing good. We started about 3 o'clock in the evening, and we got to doing really good and making a lot of good progress. And then we kind of got sidetracked and talked for about an hour and a half, just catching up and reminiscing and telling a bunch of stories. And then looked around and was like, well, are we going to get back to work or not? And it's like, well, I ain't going nowhere. Got nothing to do if you don't. Okay. So then we ended up going till about 11:30 at night, and we made a lot of progress. So by the time I got home, it wasn't until like 2 in the morning. And I'm really, to be honest with you, just starting to shake the cobwebs and get back to myself. But hope everyone is having a good day. Hope y'all are doing good wherever you're tuning in from. I saw someone refer to us as the Brandonians, and I think that is great. So thank you guys so much. I've seen England in here, Oklahoma, Mississippi. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here with me. And I'm still having my morning coffee and trying to get awake. But last night I heard some news that annoyed me, which is pretty much every day. It's not necessarily one night or one morning. I hear something every day, I know we all do, that annoys us. And so, yeah, the reason not the reason I'm doing this, but the topic of today's show is going to be that Joe Rogan has caved, and he's going to be interviewing Donald Trump, which means, like the commenter said, he's going to be fawning over Donald Trump. He's going to be trying to rebrand Donald Trump and normalize Donald Trump. If you saw the interview that if you saw the interview that The Undertaker did with Trump, where he tried to just downplay and normalize Trump, I really feel that that's what Joe Rogan's going to do with this one. After saying that he's not a Trump supporter in any way, after saying that he does not want to help him, and after saying that he had had a chance to have him on the show several times and didn't because he didn't want to help him, he's caving. And I always knew that he would. I always knew he'll cave on this one because it's ratings for him, and he knows that. And there's a lot of different ways of looking at it because Joe Rogan was on that one dude. I can't think of his name. If anyone knows who I'm talking about, he's like the guy that talks like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. And Joe went on Lex Friedman. That's it. He went on Lex Friedman's podcast, Clear Eyes. That guy. He went on his podcast and said, I don't want to help him. I'm not interested. And the guy was like, well, but are you saying that an interview like this could help turn his whole career around? Basically, is how he asked the question. I'm paraphrasing. And Joe said, yeah, exactly. That's the problem. I feel like, we could really, help him. So now he's just letting us know that he wants to help him. So, which we all knew that's what Joe Rogan's always been about. Joe Rogan has always, to me, I've never really, when Joe Rogan said, okay, what I'm trying to say here, when Joe Rogan says that he's liberal and progressive and that he's not a Trump supporter in any way, he platforms the other side way more than he platforms the ideas that he claims to embrace. He pushes conspiracy theories. He pushes misinformation. He pushes flat out lies. He platforms people who have been fired from their job for spreading misinformation. I mean, he's bought into every conspiracy theory and says so in his stand-ups that now he's just a full-blown conspiracy nut. That's the kind of stuff that that Rogan pushes. So if he really deep down believes in a woman's right to choose, he doesn't push that on his show. If he really, if he really thinks that the earth is round and that we went to the moon, that's not what he pushes on his show. So it's never mattered to me when I've had people say to me, well, but he's a liberal, he's progressive. No, he platforms the other side. He's had Alex Jones in that chair. End of story. Case closed, mic drop, we'll leave. I mean, that's it. It really is. And I really believe what you're going to see, what I really think you're going to see is he'll try to normalize it. Now, someone here says, to be fair, Joe Rogan invited both of them, and I still want to see Kamala go on there. I used to watch Joe Rogan. So I can find that comment back. I want to bring this up, and I'm in no way I'm not being argumentative with this commenter at all. Appreciate the comment. Thank you so much for leaving it. So let's read it again. To be fair, Joe Rogan invited them both on, and I would still like to see Kamala go on there. I used to watch JRE a ton pre 2016. I'm with you, and now rarely do. So I get it. Gives too much attention to the right wing crap. But you're right, and that's what it is. I used to listen to Joe Rogan all the time. I didn't listen to every single episode because I'm not interested in every single guest that he had on. But if he had somebody on who I found interesting, I thought the guy was good at holding the conversation for a long time. I never would really, like I said, it was one of those things that like I wouldn't be like I'm like a deadhead or nothing. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't I wasn't that big of a fan. But if he had someone on, I thought, yeah, this guy does good interviews. I remember, and I'll be fair here. I remember the interview that he did with Dan Aykroyd. I really enjoyed that one. He did one with the wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts. I really enjoyed that one. Did one with Bernie Sanders that I really enjoyed. So he's good at giving interviews. Don't get me wrong. But then he just went down into that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, and he started platforming those kind of people, passing it off like, well, I just want to have a conversation with those kind of people. But I feel like that. I feel like if you have an Alex Jones and you're on your podcast, or a Tim Pool, being paid by Russia, if you have people like that on your show, and you sit there and go along with it, and try to normalize it, then you're platforming it. And so that's why I was so disappointed when he went on the Undertaker's podcast, because I was always a big fan of the Undertaker as a wrestler. And so, that was very disappointing to see Undertaker sit there and try to normalize it. And I think that's what you'll see Joe Rogan do. But I agree with the commenter here. I would like to see Kamala go on Joe Rogan. Although I will be honest, I would like to see her do it, and I would be paranoid at the same time that I would worry that Joe might try to sabotage the whole thing. Like, I don't trust, to be honest, when she went on Howard Stern, and I know Howard Stern's a loose cannon, and I know he's got a history of being a loose cannon, but Howard said at the start of the interview, I want to be respectful, and I want this to help you. And I don't know if Joe Rogan could do the same with Kamala. I think he will ask his Trump. And if he don't, I'll come back on here and say, whoa, we got a left hook. He didn't kiss his ass. But I just have a gut feeling we're just going to see him fawn over him and tell him what a badass he was for getting up and pumping his fist in the air in Butler, Pennsylvania. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and hope everyone is doing well. I'm still trying to get woke up, so this might be this may take a minute. But it is disappointing when you see people, because I remember a time that, like I said, I remember a time watching Joe Rogan. And maybe, in all fairness, maybe friends of mine and people were, were trying to tell me something years ago before I caught on to what he was actually doing. Because, like I said, I watched the episodes where he interviewed people that I found interesting. So I didn't see the other. And I remember friends going, oh, man, I don't like that guy at all. And I'd say, why? And they would give me reasons. And sometimes it would be that, he talked to somebody they didn't like. And I'm like, well, that's okay, whatever. I would write it off for a long time. I'll tell you two of the biggest ones, well, three. There's kind of three big moves for me with, well, no, here we go. We're getting more than, okay. Let me just go ahead and tell you all the reasons, because I started going one, and I was like, oh, there's two, there's three. Well, first of all, like when he defended Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm sorry, that's a kid that you cannot defend that to me. It's impossible, and I was hoping that Rogan would see through the hypocrisy of the whole thing, and instead he took the angle of that kid was perfectly entitled to do what he did. That really got me. Platforming Alex Jones after what Alex Jones did to the parents of Sandy Hook, that was a big one. And then the misinformation during COVID and all the shit that he did during that was another one. And then January 6th, trying to act like that didn't happen and we're all crazy for seeing it. Those are four off the top of my head that I can think of. And I had friends that would go back and say, oh, I can go back farther than that. And I'm sure you could. That's the thing. I'm sure you could, but I wasn't watching every episode. And I am a fair-minded person who I'm not going to enjoy every episode of a podcast, no matter who it is. It's just, you're not. It's just not natural. You guys aren't going to enjoy every single video I put out. It's just, there's going to be something that you go, well, that wasn't really my cup of tea. That's just how it goes. So, I I can listen to a podcast, and I've got some that I listen to like the Joe Rogan style, where they interview someone, and if I look down and see someone I don't particularly care for, or I'm not interested in, I'm not going to listen. Or if it's someone I just don't know and don't care. But yeah, Joe Rogan was disappointing to me because I used to think he was more reasonable, and I used to think that he there was a time that I thought he wouldn't prop up someone like Trump, but I've been waiting for this. I was like, this is going to happen. And notice they waited as close to election day as they could to get it on. And so, yeah. So I'm seeing something here that I've never seen. Let's see. I've never had this happen. So someone left a comment and it was asking me if I wanted to show it. I've never had that happen before. That's new to me. And I have had people, let me just take a pause here for a minute. I have had people tell me that their comments got removed on here. I personally have never removed them. Sometimes, and from what I'm seeing here, this comment may have been considered, well, if I don't know if it popped up on my computer here. I don't know if it showed up or not, but it might have been something that YouTube itself found to be like, well, should we? I don't know. The comment, if any of you see it, the comment was saying that Trump should take a big handful of shrooms. I approved it, but I've never seen that happen before, and so yeah, okay. Well, I don't know where the comment went, but I just approved it. Someone said they would like to see me in a big fistful of shrooms, and maybe YouTube flagged that. I don't know, but I personally don't. So I just welcome y'all here and hope everyone is doing well. And shout out to Summer Lee, member for 2 months. I really appreciate you so much for joining up on the memberships. If you've not checked those out, what we do, basically all members get my content early. I try my best to always, unless I just get behind on my work, then I try my best to always let the members have the videos the night before or the morning before they actually come out, so you get early access to those. You can check those out and see if you like them. Try them on for size for a while. If you like it, keep it. And if you don't, I totally understand $1's hard to come by these days. But I really appreciate everyone's support. And yeah, someone just said there's certain words YouTube doesn't like. And I understand that. That's something about all the platforms. You kind of got to be careful with certain words that you use. And if you say certain words in a comment, it can throw it over to a different box, and sometimes I don't see it. And like I said, I'm set up on my laptop doing this through a program called StreamYard. So I'm seeing your guys' comments here on the right side of my screen, but I'm also watching on my phone here and making sure that everything's going smoothly, and I can see. I saw where that comment was there to be approved, and I've never seen that before. So yeah. Someone said I wouldn't recommend a fistful. Yeah, maybe 3.5 grams though. Yeah, for sure. We got to be careful too with what we say. Like, hey, we don't want no one thinking Brando told me to buy the ticket, take the ride. Like pump the brakes. But yeah, it'll be. I mean, yeah, Trump is like a bad car wreck. I'm sure I'll watch him on Joe Rogan. I don't know if I'll plow through the whole thing. Now, that's something, too. Joe Rogan usually talks for 3 hours to people, so I don't know if Trump can hang in there that long. The ultimate left hook here, to be honest with you, the ultimate left hook in this election would be if Joe Rogan just got him on there and just and just turned on him. I mean, that would be pretty hilarious, to be honest, if he just completely, if he went the other way and was all going, dang, he took him to task, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening. But I can't imagine Trump sitting there long because I think he was there for like an hour and a half with The Undertaker. I can't remember. But yeah, Joe won't do that. I don't think so. It's wishful thinking on my part. But it would definitely be. Yeah, so now I am starting to see some of the comments, and I can go ahead and tell you right now it is because of some of the words that some of you are using, and it's not that I disapprove. But yeah, I'll see if I can find something while we're just sitting here. I'd like to be able to bring this up and show it to you guys because this is spot on how I feel about this Joe Rogan interview. I'm going to see if I can, while we're just sitting here and enjoying our morning coffee at 12:15 Eastern. uh, I hope everyone is doing good. But my good buddy Coach D, if I can find back what platform I saw him do this video on, Coach D was definitely he nailed this to the wall. And so I'm going to see if he put it. Where'd you put it, Coach? He might have put it on Twitter. It might be on Instagram. I don't know. But anyway, well, I'll find it eventually. But he was basically talking about what we're talking here right now, about how that Joe Rogan will just throw softballs at Trump and won't ask the tough questions because he's not smart enough to do so. The coach always just really lays it down so well and just puts it so plainly that I love him for it. I'm not going to be able to find that, I don't think. But anyway, the coach was basically saying that that he was going to just throw him softballs, and I agree with that. I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see him take him to task at all. He's someone who I think will sit and throw him the softballs, and it's going to suck. But we might get lucky, wishful thinking. I know. But yeah, if I find it, I find it. But if not, I'm always having Coach D on. He and I are always doing live reactions to things, and so who knows? We may eventually react to Rogan and him talking. That would be interesting if we did. But yeah, that video I watch. One of my biggest problems is I watch content from so many different platforms. That then I don't know if you guys do this, but I'm like, where did I see that at? I knew I saw it somewhere. That's the moment I'm having with you guys. But thank you for being patient. I really do appreciate all of you for being here. But yeah, I don't think that we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see Rogan take him to task at all. Coach D is he's a track coach. He is a track coach. Not got to meet him yet. I'm really hoping I get to soon. He's out in California, and would love to sit down with him and do some content in person. That would be awesome. I have met so many cool people along the way doing what I do now. It's truly, truly awesome. Meeting people like Coach D and Texas Paul, and there's just so many of them out there. The Midas Touch Network. Believe it or not, I've still not met any of them. I got to meet my good buddy Hawk. I was on his podcast, and he will be on mine tomorrow night. So I'm really looking forward to that. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Friday. So that's one. I haven't got to meet Superman Todd yet, and he's not too far from me. He's over in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is just a couple hours from here. But I've not met him yet, and I know that's kind of shocking because me and Superman Todd and Coach D talks almost every day. It's very rare that I don't hear from one of them. And I haven't watched The Apprentice yet. Now, Superman Todd was telling me that he did. And he told me that he actually didn't think it was the roast of Donald Trump that he thought it would be. He said he felt like it almost painted him in a sympathetic kind of way. But yeah, has anyone saw it? I've not watched it yet. It's not playing anywhere around me. And I don't know. I've tried to find it, but the closest theater to me is in one of the most Bible Belt towns ever, and I can't imagine. They don't ever get the good ones. Like I usually have to go to Knoxville or Morristown, Tennessee to get a good movie. You're not going to get one in Middlesboro, Kentucky. So yeah. So I don't know. This comment's interesting. Someone said that they read that Kamala was going on Joe Rogan. Now I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't heard that either. So I'm not 100% sure. But I do think she should, but I would be a little bit worried. I can't lie. I would just be a little bit nervous for that because see, I'm reading this headline here from Newsweek. See now notice how Newsweek frames this. Kamala Harris slipping with podcast audience as Trump takes on Joe Rogan. The internet reacts, and then they say the internet reacts to Trump and Rogan's announcement. So Yeah, she's slipping because she won't sit down with Joe Rogan. That's how they're going to portray this. It's ridiculous. And I'll tell you something. I don't know if you guys do this or not, but I do. I compare headlines from like Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Newsweek, and it's always so interesting to see how they phrase the same exact subject. Like that one is a perfect example. You know, um, you know. So Forbes says Trump will appear on Joe Rogan's podcast after days of speculation, as Harris talk has not been confirmed. And then one will just say something like Trump to appear on the Joe Rogan Experience according to reports. But then you have, Kamala Harris slipping with podcast audience. So, yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if she goes on. Like I said, I would be a little bit nervous of that just because I don't know that Joe would be out to help her sabotage it, honestly. And we are getting really close to the election. We're right there on us. And we're right there at it, and I know I'm super nervous, but I am hopeful. I'm optimistic. I really believe that we can get over this hump. Well, Serena makes a great point here. She does. I don't see her having a problem with handling a Joe Rogan interview. She can hold her own. Absolutely. I don't mean to come off that I don't think she can hold her own, but I would just be worried that. I would hate to see Joe go down that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and trying to, I don't know. I definitely think she could hold her own, and who knows it. I mean, she'll definitely do better than Trump. You know what I mean? Like she's definitely going. She's going to, and that's something too. Like I think, and this is kind of what Coach D was saying, as we're right on the election. It's not like that Donald Trump is going to go on there and suddenly have this big change of heart. He's going to just be himself. He has doubled down every step of the way. He's been extreme every step of the way. So he's going to continue to do so. And I think that Joe will sit there and fawn over him. Maybe it would be good for Kamala to do it because then you would see him. And she's always, if you'll notice, she's always let him do something first and then came out and showed him, hey, I can do that a whole lot better. So maybe that's how it'll work. Who knows? But I really do appreciate you guys so much for being here. I want to give a shout out to Meredith Hicks, who became a new member. Thank you so much for that, Meredith. And also, I Drank What? I Drank What became a new member, and Summer Lee is a member for 2 months, and says thank you for all you do, Brando. Well, thank you, Summer Lee, for joining up. I really appreciate it. Hope everyone is having a good moment. Hope everyone's having a good morning and a good moment too. But yeah, I get tongue tied all the time. By the way, I get tongue tied all the time. I misspeak all the time. Slur my words even when I'm not drinking. That's why I'm not too hard on anyone for that. To be honest with you, that's just why I'm not too hard on people for that. Also, shout out to. Hope I'm saying Carol. Hope I'm saying that right. Gifted 5 Tennessee Brando memberships. Thank you so much for that. Really appreciate all the support, guys. It really goes a long way, and I appreciate you guys for being part of this with me. I hope everyone's doing good. And yeah, I'm still trying to get woke up. To be brutally honest, like I had a long night in that studio and there's something about as a musician, and if there's any musicians in the room, you'll probably understand exactly where I'm coming from. And those of you that aren't musicians may be able to relate this to your line of work. But there's a difference between like live show fatigue versus studio fatigue. You go out and play a live show, you got all kinds of energy, and you're like, yeah, and then after the show, it takes you a while to wind down. Even though you're tired, you're still amped up, But when you're in the studio, when you're in the studio, you're under a microscope. When that light goes on, we're rolling. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're more under a microscope, and so one thing I did yesterday that helped is I made some videos for Patreon, and I just sort of live performed to my camera, and that really helped me to get through it. But I feel like that there's a difference between live show fatigue and studio fatigue, and so I'm still suffering from a little bit of studio fatigue. But we got 10 songs in the can. We've got them recorded. Now it's just a matter of doing some overdubs and putting the finishing touches on it. And hopefully I'll have it out around the start of the years when I'm realistically aiming for it. So hopefully that'll all go good, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I love to music has always been the love of my life. It really has. It's what I started off doing and did for so many years, and then one day I just sat down on a chair to rant. And some of you that's been here for a long time may have heard me tell this story, and some of you may be hearing it for the first time. But how did I end up in this chair doing this kind of content and get completely sidetracked and not really play music full time anymore and just do this full time? There's a country singer made this album, Long Violent History. That's why it's hanging there, because it's part of this whole trip. Tyler Childers from Kentucky made that album right there, Long Violent History, back in 2020. When everything was shut down, all the gigs were gone, and we're all trying to figure out ways to stay relevant and find ways to do things and entertain our audiences. I started doing some live streams, playing music from my kitchen table back then. But Tyler made that album, Long Violent History, and when he did, the song is about the song Long Violent History is about police brutality and responding to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all that. He put out a video with that, talking about why he wrote the song and what it was about, so that no one would misunderstand what it was he was trying to say. And people in my part of the world just immediately began attacking him and calling him woke and threatening to boycott him, the same kind of Bud Light bull crap that they do every time, and burning their Carhartt. Now they're going to burn his records, And I hadn't never done a video like this where I sat and talked to a screen. I'd never done that, never considered it. I was a musician, just making my albums, writing my songs, and doing my thing. So I sat down and I wrote out a big long-winded Facebook post, and I got all the way to the end, and it was like one of those things you'd have had to scroll that far to read it. And I was like, ain't nobody going to read this. And I just hit backspace and just disregarded this post and walked away. And then I said to myself, no, I really wanted to say that, because I really think people aren't being fair to this guy. And so I just happened to be sitting in a lawn chair, and I was like, you know what? Hell with it. I just set my phone up and just made a video and put it out there, and it got like 70,000 views pretty quick, which none of my music had ever got that. Well, I take that back. I think I did have one that got up there pretty high, but I was like, holy crap. And all of a sudden people's like, you need to be doing that more often. I'm like, what? I was just talking in my chair. I didn't think anything of it. So I made another one, and it went. I made another one, and it went. And then pretty soon Texas Paul catches wind of me, and he starts stitching my videos, and he introduces me to the Midas Touch Network, and the rest is history. Here we sit with over 300,000 subscribers. So whatever it is you set out to do in this world, folks, just realize that, I know I quote Hunter S. Thompson a lot, and I say, buy the ticket, take the ride. But when you buy that ticket and you take that ride, you never know necessarily where the ride's going to lead you. You never know where you're going to end up. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, where will you end up in this world? I'd have said, well, I'll probably be playing my music somewhere, and hopefully I'll have an audience to do it in front of, and hopefully I'll be selling my records and traveling around. That's what I thought I'd be doing. And I'm amazed at how many people I talk to that go, yeah, I set out to do something else and then ended up in a different spot. Even Ben Marcellus said it to me. He's like, I set out to just be a lawyer and do my thing, and ended up with a network on YouTube. So it happens. But we just take whatever life throws us. And I really think that for me, after the pandemic happened, I think it made everybody put things into perspective and realize what was important, because you realize just how quick things could be stripped away. And it was like, that was just those, and to be honest, I had felt bad for not talking for a long time, if I'm being honest with you. I was like, I probably should have been doing this a lot. I should have been doing it a lot sooner. I was watching people like Bo of the Fifth Column and Trey Crowder and other people doing it before and going, yeah, I should probably be doing that, but I just didn't think I had it in me to do. And so, but it just got to where the issues at hand was way more important than someone dropping me a tip to sing Sweet Home Alabama again. It's like, if you want to hear that, go listen to Skinner do it. It's there. It always will be. But I really appreciate you guys, and I'm going to take time. I always believe in interacting with my audience on these lives. I really enjoy that. I've always said that you guys are just like the people that used to come to my shows, and after the show, I'm sitting there on a bar stool having a beer and winding down with you. So I really appreciate everyone out there who has took time out of their day to tune in. And I hope everyone is doing well. So I do want to give a shout out. Let me see if I pick up where I left off. I want to give a Shout out to Joe for the tip. Thank you so much. And you know what's funny? I do need guitar picks. I do. And I actually ordered some the other day and I got a refund from Amazon saying I don't know exactly what went wrong with that order, but I'll place that order again. And I appreciate you helping me get there. Thank you so much. Also, I want to give a shout out to Simon. Thank you so much. You're here a lot. I see you all the time, and thank you for being here. Thank you for that. You're not just voting for yourselves this time around. Another Trump presidency would be catastrophic for the world. And correct me if I'm wrong, Simon, but aren't you in the UK? So here's someone, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. If not, it won't be the first time I got it wrong. But but no, it would absolutely be catastrophic for the world. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for that. I think people needs to really understand that the world is watching this one. Also, thanks to Beth for the tip. Brando, we appreciate what you do. You're a bright spot in our day. Thank you. Well, you guys are a bright spot in mine as well. It's right back at you on that one because you guys get me through it. Really, in all honesty, the way I feel about it is I don't go to therapy. I just sit here and talk to you guys. And so, yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Beth, for that. And also, thanks to Steinar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Roots for Harris, keep up the good job. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And if I miss anybody, I apologize. I'm making sure I didn't this time. I think I missed someone on the way out the door the last time. And then I'd already closed out the session and couldn't say thanks. But thank you, guys. I really appreciate you for being here and supporting what it is that I do. And we will see if Kamala ends up going on Rogan or not. Now, somebody just joined in that wanted to know how I felt about Kamala going on. We've been talking about that here, and like I said, I would be a little worried. Not that she couldn't hold her own. That's not it. I just wouldn't want Joe to try to make a mockery of it. I think that's it more than anything. It's like I wouldn't want him to try to just sabotage her. I think she can absolutely hold her own, and I think she could blow Trump out of the water, anything that she does. We'll see if she goes on or not. And if she goes on after Trump, she's definitely going to one-up Trump. She's done it every step of the way. She's not let us down. She's absolutely every step of the way just handed his ass to him. And it's been so fun to watch. It truly has. It's been so fun to watch her and watch him get so rattled. He gets so rattled by her that he goes and cosplays as a McDonald's employee. That's how rattled. She said she worked there 40 years ago. The guy's never worked a day in his life, never worked a day job, never did that in his life, and goes and cosplays. Well, I could do that too. It's so sickening. It's just sickening. And I mean, I can't imagine, I don't know. I've never worked in fast food, but I did work in a cafe as a cook once and a donut shop as a cook once. I've worked in situations like that. It wasn't in a fast food chain. But when I saw JD in the donut shop, I flashed back to my time working in a donut shop and I went, man, I'll be honest with you. Well, I don't know. That's a tough one. I started to say, if I was working in a donut shop and JD Vance walked in, I'd probably just turn around and walk out, would be my gut instinct. But then the other part of me would be sit there and take him to task. He wouldn't get the photo op with me, I'll tell you that. There wouldn't be a photo op. But Grace just said he's desperate. And that's it. He's so desperate that he's going to do anything. I think what Kamala should really start doing is just trolling Trump at this point. She should be like, I rode a bull one time back in 1988. I lasted 8 seconds on a bull. It's like, just so he'll go out and try it, Just start trolling him at this point. Yeah, just anything. Yeah, I one time dug coal back when years ago. And just see if Trump will he came up to West Virginia and put the hard hat on, but let's see if he'll go underground. Let's see if he'll get on that scoop and go a couple of miles back here in an Appalachian coal mine and actually take a shovel and do it. She shouldn't start trolling him at this point. That would be pretty funny, I headlined WrestleMania. Get it, get it. I got in the octagon with Ronda Rousey, just whatever. Next thing you know, Trump's trying to do it, but it'd be hilarious. Just troll his ass. Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here. Exactly. I'm highlighting this comment right here. I worked Burger King 6 years. It takes more than putting on the uniform and standing at the French fry station. Give me a effing break. Absolutely, 100%. And it is. I just thought it was insulting to everyone involved. It was insulting to everyone who's ever rolled up their sleeves and went to work. It truly was. And yeah, someone said this. I'm gonna highlight this comment too because it's a good one. Says, who cares? If you've been noticing the lineup of Joe Rogan's guests lately, he won't be the number one podcast much longer because he just panders to one side now, and I agree with that. Absolutely, I've not kept a close eye on his lineup because I've just completely lost interest in caring. But yeah, he's pandering to that. I did a video that did pretty well where I was talking about the MAGA influencers that went to Taylor Swift's show being hypocrites about it and, bashing her online and then going to her show and saying, don't come at me. I'm still a Swiftie. And in that video, I talked about how that these people seize MAGA as a brand and realizes they can cash in on it and they pander to it. Do you realize, in all fairness to Joe Rogan, do you realize he's got a massive audience? Do you realize the good he could do for the world if he pandered on the side of the truth and if he pandered on the side of science and medicine and reality and not conspiracy theories? If you could imagine the good he could do for the world with a platform like that. But it's very easy to pander to the MAGA crowd because they're just so gullible and easy to lead. And I used to feel bad saying those things. I did because I didn't want to ever come off condescending. But we could sit here in this chair and we could just create the most wacky, we could just pull stuff right out of our ass, right off the top of my head. And if I did it in a manner, to a MAGA person, they would just go with it. I mean, and I've had so many people over the years be like, hey, I didn't click on your videos for a long time because you looked like an outlaw biker. And I thought you were just going to spew a bunch of MAGA talking points at me, so I didn't click on your videos. I completely understand why you would think that because I'm from here. I'm from East Tennessee, right here on the line of Kentucky. I grew up on the Kentucky side and lived over here and was born over here. But, I know I don't look the part, but there's a lot of blue dots here that thinks the way I think and feels the way I think, and obviously they do because we got a crowd here to prove it. But if I turned and say I had have played or pandered to that MAGA crowd here in the Bible Belt, I mean, this is the perfect place for me to do it. I mean, I would have a huge audience and I would be able to go to Walmart and walk around and get high-fived, whereas now I do online pickup so I don't have to confront anyone. I mean, if I sit there and pander to that crowd, trust me, I could sit here and just pull stuff out of my rear end all day long. Did you hear about that? And that's what Joe Rogan does. It's one of my biggest pet peeves about what he became and he does it in a way that he can always say, well, I didn't know. He always like, hey, did you hear about what? Did you hear about the kitty litter box? Did you hear about the kids? Did you hear about that? Yeah. And then he gets debunked right to his face. Oh, well, they got me. But see, he's already put it out there into the world. He's already threw it out there for people to hear him say it. So it's ridiculous, It's just absolutely ridiculous that type of do it. So we could sit here and we could do that. I could sit here and be like, hey, one time I got poison ivy on my hand there, and I went out and got me some battery acid and poured it on it. You could say anything, and MAGA would buy that. Don't do that, by the way. But it's just so ridiculous that the stuff they will just latch on to and buy. They're the easiest crowd to pander to. What I'm saying is, and I've had them around here accuse me of selling out. Like, no, I would have been much better off. I'm just saying to have not that I would be better off, but you know what I mean. I could have pandered to that audience in this town and been the biggest hero ever. I didn't. It could have went the other way. They're just such an easy group of people to pander to because they'll fall for anything. And any of us, any commenter here tonight or today all turned around. I'm used to doing my shows at night, but any commenter here could create something, a conspiracy theory, and might get to believe it because they don't fact check nothing. They don't look into anything. They're just so easily led and manipulated. Someone just said, I love being immune to poison oak and poison ivy. Well, here's what's funny. Most of my life, I've never had poison ivy. But I did get sumac on my wrist here. I believe it was on my right wrist. It was because I was playing my guitar and I had it right here. And that stuff, I don't know if you know what sumac is, but that stuff sucks. And that's the first time I'd ever had anything like that. And a friend of mine had some really good, a friend of mine's wife is a doctor who recommended some really good stuff. And I can't remember the name of it, but man, it worked quickly. But yeah, I've never had poison ivy, but I did have that. And man, it really sucked. They were blisters about the size of a marble. I mean, the biggest one was about the size of a marble. It was pretty rough. But yeah. Oh, here's a good question. Here's a good question. Do you think Joe Rogan will swing any undecided voters? I'm thinking most people who will tune in are diehard Trumpers. You're absolutely right. They are. No, I don't think he'll sway really any undecideds because I think Trump will continue to double down on what he's done. He's not changed yet. And let's be honest. I don't know that I even buy that people are undecided. It's like, are you really undecided? If they're undecided, it's because they've not been paying attention at all. So if they could be swayed by a Joe Rogan interview at the last minute, they were never paying attention to start with. Because I promise you, if Donald Trump went on the Joe Rogan Experience and gave his heart to Christ and just broke into tears and wept bitterly and said, I'm so sorry for everything I ever done. I want every American, I want every Democrat, I want every liberal to please forgive me for what I've put you through since I come down that escalator. I'm so sorry for being a racist. I'm so sorry for what I did to E. Jean Carroll. I'm so sorry for the mess I created on January 6th. I'm so sorry for being the person I've been my entire life. And I just want to give my heart to Jesus Christ. And I want to ask every liberal and every progressive, I'm so sorry for all the cruel things I've said to all of you. I still wouldn't vote for him. No way in hell. Would not do it. If he fell on the ground in front of me crying his eyes out, saying he was sorry as he could be, well, good for you. Good for you. Thanks for saying you're sorry. I'm not voting for you. I don't trust you as far as I could throw you. No way in hell. So I couldn't be swayed, is what I'm saying. There's nothing he could do. If he went on Joe Rogan and said, the Tennessee Brando channel is the greatest channel. It's the most tremendous channel in the world. And Tennessee Brando is the greatest YouTuber that ever lived. I'd be like, hey, guys, he might say that, but do not vote for that moron. Do not vote against our democracy. There's nothing he could do. So, yeah, I mean, if he could sway someone at the point I'm making, if he could sway someone at this point, they never really were on our side to start with. They were someone who just tuned in last minute, went, oh, he was on Rogan. And that's the scary part. See, those votes count just the same as ours do. I had Denver Riggleman on the podcast. I got to get him back because we had a great time. And Denver said a stupid vote, an uninformed vote, a misinformed vote counts just as much as an educated one. And that has stuck with me. I've never forgot it when he said that. That's absolutely the truth. The stupid people votes too, and the uninformed people vote too, and the people that slide in at the last minute and don't have a clue what's going on, they vote too. So also want to really quickly give a shout out. I think I'm picking up where I left off here to Jeanette. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate your support, and thank you for all that you've done. I really appreciate it. I know I recognize the name every time. And that's the cool part. I like communicating with the commenters and talking to my audience directly because I like seeing those names reappear. And like, hey, they're back again. And I've went at different times of the day and they're back again. So that tells me you're listening, and I truly appreciate you so much. I really, really do appreciate everyone for all their support. And helping me do what I do. It inspires me to do better and try to keep coming out with it. And like I said before, a lot of times I'll wait before I talk about certain things. You know, there's times that I pump the brakes and wait just a little bit before that I talk about something because I don't want to jump in and just do a knee-jerk reaction to it. So I will own that. I watch other people's content. And like I said, a lot of times I'll watch it after the fact. If I see that Adam Mockler or Coach D or Texas Paul or whoever, if I see that they've talked about something like, okay, like the Joe Rogan podcast, if I see that they've talked about it first, like whenever that airs tomorrow, I don't know what time it'll come out, but whenever we end up seeing it, if I see one of them responding to it, I'll purposely not watch them respond to it. I'll go watch it. I'll give my own response, and then I'll go back and watch everyone's response. But one thing I've noticed is someone like Adam Mockler, man, that kid is on top of it immediately. Like the minute something comes out, boom, he's there. This just happened. This just broke, and he's sharp, and he's one of the best. I could never stop putting him over enough. Go follow him if you go follow Adam Mockler if you don't. But I'm more of the nature like something happens, certain things happens where I go, let me think on that a second. Hold on. So I may react to a clip that's 2 days old because I've had to sit and stew on it a little bit. So that's just kind of how I go about it. So yeah, hope everyone is good. I adore Adam too. He is so awesome. Luke Beasley's really good. I like him. Yeah, I'm going to pull this comment up because I want to talk about it just for a second. So the other night I went live on Facebook and I played for over 4 hours. I played music. It was the night that was the anniversary of the Leonard Skinner plane crash. And so Julia here says, I really enjoyed your live on Facebook the other night. It was great watching you play the Allman Brothers, Skinner, Bob Dylan, etc. And thanks for playing the B6 song. I appreciate you for being there. I hung out for a long time, and I was been a musician for over 20 years, and folks, I played a lot of dive bars, and in dive bars you play longer sets. The shows that I used to play back 20 years ago would sometimes go 4 or 5 hours. I'd start at 9 o'clock at night and go till 2 or 3 in the morning, and loved every minute of it. I thrived on it, and I loved being in those smoky bar rooms where there wasn't that good of ventilation, and the heat was in there, and the stage lights was burning you, and the sweat and the blood and the guts and the beer was all over you. I loved it, and so that was just me for so many years, and I got so used to playing long shows like that if you set me down with my guitar and say sing, it's like, okay, but now if you tell me to sing for 15 minutes and stop, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with myself? I'm just getting started. So the other night I got going with it and paid some tribute to Skinner, and then someone said, well, could you do an Allman Brothers tune? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. So I'm like, can you do some Grateful Dead? How about some Bob Dylan? And I'm like, okay, and here we went with it. And the next thing you know, I looked around and I was like, dang, I've been sitting there for 4 hours. And I live in a split level home. My mom and dad's above me. And the next day, they can't really hear me too good down here, but they could hear me a little bit. And my mom was like, how did you play all night or what? I said, well, I just kind of channeled my 25 years ago Brando. I channeled that kid and went the distance. And so we had a great time doing that. We had a great time doing that. I really enjoyed it. Someone just mentioned Harry Sisson. That's another one. I love Harry. He's always plugged in. He's always right on top of it, like Adam. He's great. So yeah, I'll hang out with you guys. I didn't. Usually, I'll tell you how long I'm going to go. Now today, I didn't have to be anywhere, so I could talk a little bit longer. Sometimes I only go 30 minutes on these daytime shows, but I got a few more minutes, and if anyone has a question as we wrap up here, we'll just sit and shoot the breeze for a few more minutes, and if anyone has a question, I'll be glad to grab it, and we'll see. I really appreciate you guys so much. Let me go back over here. I was looking a while ago at some of the comments that it was asking me to approve. But yeah, and I've always been of the nature, as long as someone's not, bullying another listener or just trying to make the entire show about them, I don't want someone in there harassing my listeners. They'll be removed if they do that. But if someone says something off the wall, trust me, I've said plenty myself, so I'm not here to judge. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to bring this up. I'll go ahead and say this because I know he wouldn't mind. I actually have been talking with John, and we've actually been texting back and forth, and we're really hoping to make that happen. He's been one of my guests. Someone wanted to know, but I'm looking forward to getting John on the show. He's one of the most requested people anytime I put it up, along with Trey Crowder. Still haven't been able to get in contact with Trey Crowder. If anyone knows how, tell him to call me. He'll get it. It's a Southern thing. Any thoughts on Brent Terhune? I guess I'm saying that right. I think the guy's hilarious. Uh, I love the character that he does. It just reminds me. The first time I seen it, I didn't know if he was. I was like, is that is that because it just sounds like a real person around here? But that's a great character, and yeah, I like Brent's work a lot. He's hilarious. I thought I saw something else a minute ago. If I can scroll back to it, maybe not. Someone wanted to know how many kiddos do I have. I have 5. I have 5 kids and a grandson. I have my son Dylan's 23. Kaylee, who has my grandson, is 21. She'll be 22 November 15th, so her 22nd birthday is coming up. My grandson turned 3. Then my son Bryson is 17, Emmett's 12, and Oakley's 6. So I got a wide range. I realized the other day that I'm going to have kids for the rest of my life, whether I like it or not, because I'm done. But I got 5 kids and a grandson coming that's going to grow up and have them. So there will always there's always going to be kids. I've just come to that realization. It's like, but some people's like, I got the kid. Like I've got friends. It's like, yep, me and my wife are empty nesters now, and I'm like, I'm never going to be. It's not going to happen. So yeah, someone asked you my thoughts on the electoral college. I think it should be done away with personally. I just do, and I don't think it will be because I think the Republicans realize that if it were to be, they'd never win another election. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think that's all Trump's hoping for, is to create as much chaos as he can and hope that would go his way, because he can't win the popular vote. He didn't win it the first 2 times. He's not going to win it this time because he's not done anything at all to change that. Someone just said Michael Popak and the Legal AF crew is great. They absolutely are. I don't shout Michael Popak out enough. That's the guy that I go to when I say to myself, man, I don't understand that. Like, what were they trying? Like, if I, especially when it comes to the legal stuff, I'm like, wait a minute, what was that? I don't get it. And I turn on Michael Popak, and my mom watches him more than I do. Mom is like a Popak junkie. And so sometimes I'll say, yeah, I need to look into that. And she'll say, well, now Popak's already, and she'll tell me what Popak has said. He's great. I have, someone said, did I know any gay sorry, I got the wrong one. Yes, I do, to answer your question here, and I talked to quite a few that I still haven't met. I've had a lot of people reach out and talk with me and share their stories, and I've learned so much about it over the years. And so yes, I'm very that's the thing about doing this. To be honest with you, I've always had friends that were gay. But doing this kind of content has put me, around more people from all walks of life. And, used to, as a musician, I was just playing to a white redneck audience, And now if I go out to play a show or make an appearance somewhere, I've got people from all walks of life walking up to me. And I've made some really good friends online and talked with them. And so, yeah, I really... That's meant a lot to me to be able to talk and to learn and understand, because that's what I want to do. I've always said, one of my biggest pet peeves in this part of the world is when they judge trans people based on something they heard on the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm like, if you really want to learn about it, ask a trans person about it. Ask them. Don't take some disgruntled white dude's word for it. That's never made sense to me. Let's see. My email is online. It's in most of my links, but if it's TN, wait a minute, I just drew a complete blank. It's tnbrando423@gmail.com. And I also, if you're on Facebook, I respond. I try my best to respond to messages on there. I had to turn those messages off just for a little while because they got out of hand at one point. I lost complete control of that inbox, and I had a shit ton of hate in there. So I just, for my mental health, for a little bit, I turned it off, and but it's back on now, so you can contact me over there too. Would love to talk with you. I may have missed some comments, questions, but if anyone, we got about 5 more minutes. I'll try to answer some more if I see one. Someone asked, "How is Jill Stein still on the ballot list?" I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have the answer for that. I mean, I've never understood the the idea that, especially at this point in the game, the writing somebody in or going for someone like that. It's not the protest vote they think it is. It does nothing. Also want to give a shout out and thanks to the Gray 08 for the contribution. Thank you. Have you heard about the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact? No, I haven't. Believe it or not, I've not heard that. But I will be glad to look into it. I can't find someone want to know how I hooked up with Midas Touch. I was introduced to them through Texas Paul. He discovered my content on TikTok, and he's who introduced me to the Mycelis brothers. So that's how that happened. Someone asked what my thoughts were on Brian Tyler Cohen. He's great. I watch him every day. Someone asked, how do I donate? So there should be a button there that says join, I think, or super chat. It looks different to everybody I talk to. But I really appreciate you guys so much for that. I appreciate it. Hope everyone's doing well. This is it. It makes Jill Stein keep doing this. That's what a vote for Jill Stein does. You're absolutely right. She's just trying to keep her name in the papers, and she's not helping nobody. It's really sad. It's sad that, again, would I like for there to be more options out there? Absolutely. I would like to see more options with good ideas, you know. I would like for it to be where we sit down and went, you know what, there is so many great ideas out there that I can't decide which one I want to go with. They're all so good. I would love to see that, but that's not what we have. And we have a competent, effective leader who's going to make a great Madam President. And do you realize what a historic moment it's going to be when we have our first woman president and a black woman president? It's going to be epic, you know. We have someone who's a natural born leader and can lead. We have someone who's also compassionate and is humble at the same time. So we have that versus absolute batshit insanity. There's no middle ground to me anymore, and a third vote is just pissing in the wind. It's not doing anything. So yeah. Someone said I would like to see sanity return to the world and a guitar in every home. Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite comedians, the late great Bill Hicks, said one time that we live in a world where a plea for sanity sounds like sour grapes. And I said to myself, that is such a true statement. Because I know a lot of my trolls are like, you're just mad. No. Well, actually, yes, I am mad. But I'm mad over the fact that they let that get so far out of hand. The Republicans could have, you know, I'm glad to see, don't get me wrong, I'm glad to see Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and different Jeff Duncan, different people, even Dick Cheney. I'm glad to see those people endorsing Kamala and coming out for her. That's great. But they sat back when they had the chance to get rid of Donald Trump, and they didn't. They just sat back and let it boil over. He should have never become the nominee to start with. And if the Republican Party had had a backbone, he wouldn't have. But they didn't have a backbone, number one, and they didn't have no new ideas. He was a fresh face. I'm not giving him no credit, but if you look at it, he was a fresh face in the political arena. We had never seen that before. And it was like, well, give this businessman a shot at it, which I thought was ridiculous, but that's how people were looking at that. It was a guy who was a popular face, a fresh face in the political world, going up against an establishment Democrat. And, you know, I just feel like that we're definitely not there this go around because we've had plenty of time to see Donald Trump for who he is. And so, the Republican Party had the chance to stop this, and they didn't. And I, at the end of the day, I may be glad that they've come around, but you still got to kind of point and go, you know what? You guys kind of let this, you're the ones that let this get out of hand to start with. If they'd have just had some better ideas, we wouldn't be in this mess, and he wouldn't have been relevant. And I do blame Mitch. Someone just said they blame Mitch McConnell for the mess we're in. Yeah, I do too. Mitch McConnell is, yeah, I grew up in Kentucky, and I know all about Mitch McConnell and what he's about. And he's one of the, I mean, he's a good politician. And let me say that. I want to make sure I explain that because my dad will always cut me off and go, he's terrible. I'm like, I know he's a terrible person, but man, he's just such a slimeball politician that knows how to manipulate the system and knows how to just, he's terrible. And he's a big part of the reason why we're sitting in this boat we're in today. And the fact that he'll still come out and support him at this point, it's just so cringe to me. Like, really? There's no, have, other than like the people here in the pro-democracy movement, who out there has ever kept their word on anything? Going back to the topic of today's show, Joe Rogan saying he didn't want to help Trump, didn't want to prop him up, didn't want to help his campaign in any way, wasn't a Trump supporter in any way. Just a while back was praising RFK Jr. and Trump was throwing shade at Rogan, and now Rogan's going to do it. Is there ever going to be a time where someone says, I don't support that they don't eventually bow to it? Will there ever come that day where we go, hey, that person over there, the people in the mainstream politics and mainstream shows, they just, if it's not independent journalism, they will absolutely just sell themselves every time. After saying I'm a never Trump guy, right there on the ticket with him. It's just so frustrating. It truly is. I've heard a lot of people, this is a scary thought. JD will become president. They will Article 25 Trump. I've heard a lot of talk about that. And that's a pretty terrifying comment because JD Vance is a young man with his whole life in front of him. Yeah, let that one sink in. It's so important to vote, folks. We're getting right down to the wire, and I know you guys are on board, and we have to stay on board. Can't look away at this point. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys so much for being here with me. I'm probably going to start wrapping it up pretty soon here. But I do thank all the members, all the people who gifted donations and things of that nature. I really appreciate everyone and everybody that took time out of their day to sit here with me. Tomorrow night, I will be live at 9 p.m. here on the channel. I will have Hawk, who's a TikToker, and YouTube. He has a YouTube channel as well. Lawyer from San Francisco. I was on his show last week, and he's going to return the favor and be on mine. And I always love talking with him and love comparing notes as to what it's like here in the Bible Belt versus what it's like out in San Francisco. So that'll be tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then we've been doing 12 noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes I change that up, but I'll give you guys plenty of warning. This past Tuesday we went at 10 a.m., but I gave you guys a warning and I got the link set up and let you guys know I'd be here. So if we have to change, I'm bringing this up. So if we have to change the time at any point, I'll let you guys know. And it is the Eastern time zone. I am going to have to, you remember Forrest Gump, the stop Forrest and go Forrest? I'm going to have to make a note and just stick it here on my desk that says, tell the time zone. I always forget that. Yeah, I'm in the Eastern time zone, so it will be noon. It'll be 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for that. Wherever you may be, I'm Eastern time. And I'll try to do better at making a note about that. I don't know why it always slips my mind. I just automatically, I don't know. It's one of those moments I have. But yeah, hope everyone is doing good, and hope everyone has a great day. And tomorrow is Texas Paul at 11 a.m. Eastern. So you guys be sure to tune into my good buddy Texas Paul. I absolutely love Paul. He's a great dude, great person, and been so helpful. He gave me so much good advice. So he's just a good friend, somebody that'll take time out of his day to talk to you for 3 hours if you need to. Super, super good person, and I love his just his passion and his, just he doesn't hold back. All the Trump supporters is like, I like Trump because he speaks his mind. I'm like, no, you don't. You like him because he speaks what's on your mind. But Texas Paul, unfiltered, speaks his mind and doesn't hold back, and I love him, and I'm appreciative to everything he's done to help me and my channel. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for Texas Paul at 11 a.m. Eastern. like I said, I'll have to make a note of that. It'll just be in all caps. Telling the time zone. But yeah, I really appreciate so many of you. Shout out to the members and shout out to the regulars who have been here all the time. I really appreciate you guys so much. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, I'll be here in the saddle and I'll be talking to my good friend Hawk. And hope everyone has a good rest of your day and a good weekend. Take care of yourself. We're getting closer and closer to that election. We will make it. We're on the right side of history. I tell people that all the time. Folks, no matter what happens, no matter how long Trump sits and, circle jerks with Joe Rogan and Jamie pulling it up, it ain't going to matter. We're on the right side of history. So you guys have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 Eastern.